Welcome to the Fire Sprinkler Podcast with Chris and Logan. Johnson Controls is shifting the sprinkler paradigm with the industry's first and only lead-free sprinkler to pass UL 199 test protocol. The Tyco LF2 K4.9 lead-free for 13D sprinkler features a unique polymeric material that resists corrosion and heat for long-lasting, dependable fire protection in residential occupancies. The polymer material is lightweight and offers a cost-effective alternative to brass. For more information, visit tycofpp.com/LF2-lead-free.
Like and subscribe.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Fire Sprinkler Podcast. On this episode, I have TJ Gaines from JCI, and we are going to learn everything that we possibly can about the new sprinkler that just got released, the new residential polymer sprinkler. TJ, how's it going today?
Doing well. How about yourself, Chris?
It's still too early to tell. It's been a little off week with us. The wife's got the corona. She's healthy.
Oh, no.
She's good. We're all shot up and stuff like that, but we're on being up here in Canada. They lock us down. So don't even look outside and things like that.
Well, hopefully she bounces back here pretty quick.
She's, like I said, she's fine. She's wearing a mask around the house and 100% healthy. No issues.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So why don't we start by learning a little bit about you and what we're going to talk about today.
Okay. I'm still new, a little bit new to JCI. I've been here since October of last year. I'm the global product manager for our residential and CPVC lines. Background is a little varying. I've done pressure vessel design. I'm a mechanical engineer by degree, and always have loved getting into things where it helps people from a safety or environmental standpoint to make their lives a little bit easier and a little bit safer.
Seems like a natural fit with the JCI product.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, awesome. Why did you go from the what you did in the past to getting right into like the residential and BlazeMaster kind of market? What made you fit into that aspect of the industry?
I just wanted to get into something that, like I said, something that was going to help protect people, protect property, and something that you can sleep easy at night knowing you're helping other people out and protecting their lives and their families.
And the families is the perfect segue into the sprinkler that we're here to talk about today. What is this new sprinkler that you guys sent me here, which is totally awesome? I'm actually going to grab it while you're explaining to me what this sprinkler is.
Okay, well, I can show it as well. It's our brand new polymeric sprinkler. It's a 4.9K design. So it looks and fits just like a regular one would do, a normal brass, except It is polymeric.
Polymeric being what's the
industry will quickly call it a plastic sprinkler.
It's not a plastic sprinkler though.
But exactly, it's not a plastic sprinkler. It's a polymeric sprinkler. It's an engineered polymer. This is something that's tried and true with many years of trials and tribulations to get this thing to market.
What was the reasoning behind coming out with this product?
Came back in 2009. Manny Silva, our chief engineer, had the idea, how do we come up with a more cost-effective, easier to potentially manufacture product for the residential market, knowing that commercial and other things wouldn't be as easy to get a hold of and people to chop onto it first.
So this has been in production, or not in production, but in kind of research and development since 2009.
Well, I wouldn't say, first it had to get UL on board, right?
Sure.
So 2009 was Manny went in and got the standards technical panel created and started in January of 2010. So that was a really big step just to get people to entertain the idea of switching away from brass, which everybody knew for a very long time.
Right.
It's like switching from a gas engine to an electric car. Everybody's like, well, yeah, it won't work. It won't work. You know?
Right.
And then eventually it comes to fruition. So after quite a few years, it took, 2010, 2011, 2012, getting things out there and done. The group formed a new set of rules that were above and beyond the normal brass sprinklers.
As far as like the testing of a sprinkler, this one has its own UL listing criteria.
Yes. So to pass UL 199, Well, first started out 1626, now it's incorporated into 199.
Okay.
So it came up with its own specific testing requirements. There's a water immersion test, and that's a 180-day test at 189 degrees F.
Oh,
So
okay.
6 months, that's a long time. If you make some mistakes, you got half a year's gone already before you can start up again.
Yeah, month 5, you have an issue, and all of a sudden you're
back to the drawing board.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
And did we pick the correct polymer? Did we have the design wrong? That sort of thing. So there was a lot going on there, just with that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one, which is probably the hardest one to pass, is the air oven aging.
Okay.
Again, another 6-month test at 242 degrees F.
Okay.
So when you're talking about application, 242 degrees, the sprinkler would have already activated by the time you got to that temperature. And this thing's sitting in there for 6 months.
Right.
And once the sprinkler activates, the water's going to help cool it and everything. So not really worried about anything. As long as you can withstand that, you're going to be good to go.
As soon as you get into it, and it happened with BlazeMaster. I remember when BlazeMaster started getting more and more used, people were saying, how can we put like the guys in the industry call it a plastic type of material to be used for fire protection? Like what, it's going to melt, it's going to corrode. So this thing has been actually tested for 6 months. If you have a building or a house on fire for 6 months and you haven't done anything about it, then you got bigger fish to fry.
Yes, definitely. Well, that's an interesting point, because originally it was considered, and Manny was thinking, can we make a CPVC sprinkler?
Right.
So make the frame and everything out of CP. It's just the original evolution, or the initiation of that evolution to get to where we are today.
The thought process and
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Creative process, so to speak. Yep.
Yeah. And just the wheels kept rolling, and eventually, we are where we are today with it. So some other tests, a light and water exposure test, that's per UL 746.
Right.
So you gotta pass that as well, because the concern of, any polymer is light.
Right.
It's going to dry out. It's going to crack. It's going to fade. Things are going to lose performance from the original. There's also a long-term hydrostatic pressure test, and that's at 2.5 times operating pressure. So we ran it at 437 psi.
Wow.
For 90 days. So 3 months at that pressure and at elevated temperature. So that was at 155 degrees.
And that's part of the UL testing as well, or is that something you guys did above and beyond?
That is also in the test.
Okay.
For UL.
Okay.
So this is all these things are, what's going above and beyond what a normal sprinkler has to go through to
Right.
get approved.
Just because it's a new type of design out there and they want to make sure that so I'm assuming with the light exposure, they're looking for UV. Probably.
Yeah, looking for the UV, looking for degradation over time.
Right.
Is it going to fade and crack and dry out? That sort of thing that a lot of lower grade polymers would fail.
Right. So what kind of I'm assuming they did tests to replicate an aged sprinkler. How long of a lifespan do they have on these? I'm assuming it obviously exceeds the 25-year of a quick response type sprinkler. But did you guys do any kind of testing to determine the average length that this sprinkler is going to last?
We're expecting this to last as long or longer than traditional brass.
Oh, than a regular brass sprinkler. Now, is that
right.
because of the corrosion resistance?
It's because of the stability of the polymer and the corrosion resistance, all those benefits that are built into it.
Awesome. It's really neat when you sent me the one, and you sent me the brass one as well. And an obvious notice when you pull it out of the box, just in weight. And when you think like, oh, it's going to be lighter, that means it's going to be a little easier to break. But I mean, you can smack this thing off the wall, smack it off the table. Don't smack it off the wall, smack it off the table. But I mean, they can take a beating. It's not, you're not going to throw it in a bucket and go on your installation, but you are going to, it can take a beating if it has to.
Right. And there's also an impact test at 0 degrees F that's done.
Oh,
on this
okay.
as well. So there's an apparatus built with a tube, and the weight's suspended, and the sprinklers put at 90 degrees, and then also at 180 degrees to horizontal, or 90 degrees to horizontal, and then perpendicular to that, and it gets hit 2 different times that way.
So is that checking like the strength of the thread?
That's just checking the impact strength. So is it going to dislodge the button? Is something going to come out of place? And just make sure that at temperature, it's not going to shatter as well.
Now, when you're doing that test, is it threaded into a fitting or is it sitting on the ground?
Yeah, it's like this.
Yep.
You know, or it's like this.
Sure.
And you can have the protective cap on it as well during the test.
The blue protective cap or concealed cap?
Yes, correct.
Oh, okay, cool. So you've got all of these in. Okay, so with the protective cap, then I'm assuming then the concealed element of the sprinkler is in place as well, because you're testing it like it would be installed, not necessarily
not
testing the
crazy worst case. Somebody took it apart.
There's your listing, anyways. You're not testing a listed sprinkler at that point, anyways, right?
Exactly. I unplugged my airbag. I don't know why it didn't go off.
Yeah.
Keep all the safety points.
It's the craziest thing. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's part of the big things you see guys on social media, like backflow preventers and stuff like that, that have been completely disassembled. And I had to turn the corner before the end of my backflow preventer. Well, there goes. See you later listing. Hope nobody sees it.
Just hope everything works at that.
That's right. Yeah. Those aren't the kind of guys we want in the industry. What type of installation requirements are there for these? Are these standard CPVC or steel fittings, or is there a very specific application for installation on these?
Yeah. So these are limited to our RSA fittings, our rapid seal.
Okay.
So, it does have to go in here. One of the advantages of that too is the fact that you don't have to put any pipe dope or tape on these things, in the field. So you just put it in there, spin it in pretty quick. And then you've also got the wrench. You should have the wrench as well.
Absolutely. Yep.
And just crank it down by hand and you're done.
Right.
So you don't have to get a ratchet out. So guys can be up there and just turn it and get it fitted in there nice and tight. And then you can double check it with a torque wrench if you want.
And that's hand tight. Like essentially you're going hand tight into this. You using the wrench. It's a hand tight installation.
Yeah. But then you also have the socket.
Yeah, and that was an interesting thing you told me about when we did our kind of pre-conversation call there. It's a breakaway connection. I don't know if the camera's going to focus on it or not, or I'll get a picture and put it up there later.
There you go.
Yeah, there it is. It's a breakaway connection. If you do put a ratchet on this and you try to over tighten this thing, it's going to break the wrench. Yep.
And so when it does break, obviously the wrench can still be used if you use it hand tightened, but if you want to use that torquing, you're going to have to replace it.
So
everybody's like, oh, you want more wrenches then? No, you're just treat it with respect and everything.
You obviously can't handle using a wrench on it, so you have to use your hands.
Right. And part of that was our hesitation and just introduction to the market from guys that are used to using brass. Some guys are a little stronger than others and crank on stuff a little bit harder. It's just nature of the beast, right? So with this, it's just an added protection layer. Sure. But if something does happen, we want people to just take it out, make sure something crazy didn't happen, and then put it back in. Right.
As far as the cost, because it's not a solid brass sprinkler, is that one of the benefits of using these sprinklers? Is the cost savings?
The cost benefits the whole package, right? So you're getting the rapid seal adapter. You're getting to fit it in faster, so you're not going to have as much labor usage from that.
Right.
And that's the huge benefit, and the speed.
Right.
There is some cost savings relative to the material. We had thought initially it was going to be much greater, but then life changes over 10 years.
Yeah.
It hasn't been that long but a lot's changed recently, and cost of the polymers risen, and so the cost isn't as much as we expected, but you're definitely going to have some cost savings going to this over a traditional brass sprinkler.
Right. Yeah. I'm not, like we talked about earlier, I'm not going to let you to get away with saying that it's a lighter sprinkler. You'll be able to work harder with a lighter sprinkler. If the sprinkler's the heaviest part of your job, like, come on now, let's not,
hey, but a box of sprinklers is less than 2 milk jugs, at least in the States. It's less than 2 gallons.
I'm from Canada. We have milk bags here.
I know. Just throw them in your backpack, right?
That's right. Buy them by the bag. That's how we do it. It's energy efficient. I think it's more for the waste. Easier to whatever. I don't know why. I don't know why we do half the stuff we do here, but it seems to work. So I'm not going to question it. Are you guys planning on taking this technology and adapting it to other applications, or is it strictly residential, without giving it too much of your future endeavors with this? But are you guys going to be attempting to use this in a more commercial application, things like that?
We would love to, but we can't. With NFPA 13D is the only thing this is approved for right now.
Right.
So we're limited to single and multifamily homes.
Okay.
For the immediate future. So
Right.
that's where we're limited. Going into a commercial application, just not going to be possible because you got to pass the 650 C.
Okay.
Temperature rating. It's going to melt.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah. 650. Okay. Yeah. That gets.
So you can't get there.
Right.
So yeah, right now limited based on UL being conservative, making sure that what their stamp is behind it, it's going to work through the test of time. So it's going to take years to start evolving this, getting it into other applications and that sort of thing. Because the other limitation, I don't know if we discussed it before, is the limitation on being concealed.
Oh, it has to be a concealed sprinkler.
Right, it has to be concealed, not exposed to the environment, unless it's got a metallic membrane over the top. So if you coated it in some sort of metallic, you're wasting all your savings.
Yeah, there you go.
costs are blown. So
adding an extra step to manufacture process, things like that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's part of the light and water exposure test, to prove that out. So it's not to say 3, 4, 5 years down the road, whatever that is, that we're not going to be able to make a pendant,
right,
or anything like that that's just out there. Because you got the corrosion resistance, you got a lot of benefits to it that it doesn't necessarily see in the concealed environment.
Right.
But this was our way to get going and try it out and test the environment and test the field and see where we're going to go with it.
And these are available now. It's not coming out in March. It's available, ready to ship right now.
It launched yesterday. So
launched yesterday.
We are taking
Awesome.
orders as of yesterday.
Awesome.
Pretty exciting.
Is there the benefit? Is this a lead-free type sprinkler as well? So if you are installing this on a multi-purpose system, this is the sprinkler for that as well?
This is the sprinkler for it. So we're NSF 374 and 61
okay,
conforming, certified. So it is, you can put potable water behind it and not worry about it.
Right.
So,
now I know
you've got.
I know the California standard is maybe a little bit stricter. Are you guys, is this a sprinkler that's going to get away from the known chemicals in the state of California stamp behind it?
You're getting, you got, proposition that's going to pull down everything, right? Everything causes cancer.
Everything manufactured.
Everything, including the air you breathe in the
That's
state
right.
you live, causes cancer.
That's right. Yep.
But no, that was the whole point of getting 374 and 61, to make sure we had as high a stringency as we could,
right,
to the lead-free certifications.
Awesome. I think it's a positive change in the 13D, the residential market. I think it's going to be good. I think you're going to get a little bit of pushback just because you get into the plastic type of wording that you're going to get from fitters. But I think people that do the research and the due diligence, I think the people that are going to criticize it are going to be the people that don't actually do the research and have the knowledge behind it. Like anything with the industry, you got to move forward. And I think this is a move in the positive direction as far as the industry is concerned. The more cost effective we can get for sprinkler installations means more sprinklers are going to be installed, means more people are going to be protected by fire sprinkler, means more jobs for the fitters and installers out there and designers.
Right, definitely. It gets other states maybe into the game of making it a regulation, making
right,
built in. So, hey, let's just make it a national standard here in the States. If you build a new house, you have to put them in. And guess what? Then your house is protected. I go back to the airbag thing I said earlier.
That's right. Yeah.
Unplugged.
Yep.
I don't ever want to use my airbag, but if I have to, I hope it's there.
That's right.
Most people aren't going to experience a fire, but if it's there, you're gonna be very thankful it was there, save your family, your house from being completely devastated.
In fire protection, I say it all the time. Fire protection is one of the hardest things to sell because nobody ever uses it until they have a fire, right? You're you're an additional cost to a facility, to a building, to a home, until they have a fire and they see you coming to service the system after to replace the sprinkler, to isolate the valve, et cetera, et cetera. And everybody, including the fire department's there to shake your hand and say, thank you.
Right.
Right.
It's not, you're not on the front lines of thank you. It's only when you need it, which is unfortunate, but it's a mindset change that, through time, we evolve as a society, and seatbelts are now, you don't wear a seatbelt, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't wear a helmet on their bike. It's
exactly
all those things that took time, but then once they gain ground, the early adopters are going to do it, but then it'll just take a longer while for the mainstream to get out there.
That's right. I have to say it at least once in every episode. You evolve with the industry evolves without you. And that's the same society as well with all safety standards, right? Guys used to not wear hard hats and safety glasses. Now you have to wear safety glasses every time you step out of a vehicle on some of these refineries that I work in. There's been guys that have been written up because they got dust in their eye when they were driving in a refinery with the windows down. Why didn't you have your safety glasses on? You were exposed to the elements.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's crazy.
Right. But you're on site. You're in a work zone. You're not in your house. You're not driving on your own dime.
Yep.
So
yep.
They got to protect themselves.
That's right. It's a WSIB claim. If you were driving out for lunch or not, you're still on company time. Yeah. Awesome. Is there anything else you want to make sure that we touch on before we wrap things up with this?
Oh, one of the other things which is released with the brass one that you had was the cover plate. I know we talked about it, but you do get that enhanced adjustability. So you're getting the 3/4 inch as opposed to the 1/2 inch of the legacy.
Right.
Just the push in and then micro adjust it that way, and then screw it out if you need to pull it out or service it in any way. Right.
Now, as long as you can get these caught, is it considered a correct installation? Because I've seen some of these, gone for installation, relocates and stuff like that. And if you have the plate on 2 or 3 threads, it looks good from the ground. But you've only got that deflector hanging down, say 1/4 inch. Is that still considered? Is it like it?
As long as you're 3/4 inch away, you're engaged.
Okay. That would be a good way to develop these plates, where if you can't get the plate caught, then you have an unlisted and improper installation. If you have to use anything to keep that plate on, because I think there's a lot of guys out there that's what they go by. I got the plate on, it must be right.
It's close enough, right?
That's right. Good enough. I
see it, don't you?
Looks good for my home, right? Which is the worst thing you could possibly say in this industry.
But it is nice with this. So as people transition from the brass to the polymer, they're going to be able to use the same cover plate. So they're interchangeable. It's not specific just to this. Trying to keep it in line.
Keep it so that all the plates are the same.
Yep.
And down the road, please make it so that I only have to buy 1 plate for every sprinkler. Manufacturer specific, obviously, because I know it would be a tough sell to get you guys to play nice with everybody.
We can't. Hey, we want to stay in our sandbox and we can look at their sandbox.
That's right. That's right. Look at theirs. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Awesome. TJ, thanks for coming on and showing me this and sending me one to play around with. I think it's a good product, and I think it's going to turn a lot of heads here in the future. And it's one of those steps. It's one of those steps towards getting fire sprinkler in more buildings and homes around the world.
Well, I appreciate the time, Chris, letting us share what we have to offer now, and good luck with you and getting the family back on the healthy track.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot.
All right. Have a good one.
Hey everyone, this episode of the Fire Sprinkler Podcast is done. If you liked this episode, leave a review, comment, or hop over to my social media pages and let me know. Just search Fire Sprinkler Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Don't forget to hashtag Fire Sprinkler Podcast and anything you think I should know about or see. If you have any suggestions for future episodes of the Fire Sprinkler Podcast, email info@firesprinklerpodcast.com. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Take care.